Welcome everybody, this is Brother Mutant here. Today we're going to talk about a game I've been playing. This is City of Heroes, City of Villains, and I'm actually playing, farming a specific group of bad guys. This guy that's highlighted right now, Equinox Adjutant, whatever the hell that means, is a vampire. And if you go to badges, and you see that I've been working on it for a while now, so you guys didn't have to see the massive grind it took to get here. It's a 200 Dark Vampire to earn this badge, and he's one of those 200. So I need 3 more, and it's to finish off a series of badges that gives you what's called an Accolade. And I want to show you what that is as it dings, hence the reason for the video. Now, I can kill any of these guys, and it doesn't matter, but it's that vampire that I really want to take out. Now I found an area, I'm definitely above their level, which I'll explain that as we go through it too. But that's why you're seeing that they're dying so easily with me soloing. This would be something that if a lower level tune, you'd probably complete these in missions. There's plenty of missions in the game where you fight vampires. Part of these badges that we're earning, you also have to fight 200 werewolves, which I've already taken those out before this one in a specific area, which again I was over leveled for, so it was easy for me to just wipe them out in mass. And the good news was for that area, the actually go cloaked. The area was easy because there were werewolves spawning all over the place, where these vampires are only spawning, for me, in this general area. They're actually 5th column, which is so are the werewolves, so you'll see werewolves in the mix as well. This is me on the map. This is a very nice addition to the game, which you can download. I suggest you do so. It's called Vidiot Maps, and no, I will not put a link to that, again, for the same reason, because you are downloading it to your computer, and I don't know that you can trust it. I trust it, doesn't mean you do, and I'm sure you guys can find it. So it's V-I-D-I-O-T, Vidiot Maps. I see 2 guys right there. How close are we? Are we almost done? Okay, those 2 will take this out, so let's actually talk about this. So here's the werewolves that I was fighting, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. So these are these guys, and I already get the badge for that. That's called the Silver Bullet. Now this Accolade that we're getting is called the Atlas Medallion, and you'll see it like these powers are up here. These are icons to let you know that you have an effect on you. One of them, which is the yellow one in the upper corner there, is combat jumping. I'll show you that here in a second. I want to heal off of this guy and kill him. Now, this is combat jumping. If you put your cursor over here, right click, you'll see what it gives you. You can go info and get even more information about a power, detailed information. Notice sometimes the power scales, which means that as you go up or down in level, it has different effects. This one here apparently is giving you different levels of immobilization protection. So as you get it, and I think the soonest you can get it, I want to say, is level 4. You'll probably pick it up around 6 or later, and then you'll zip it on up and you'll see it's giving us more and more protection. But the defense is always the same. We can buff that, of course, and we will talk about that in a moment. But I want to get this badge. This badge, this Accolade that we're trying to earn here, which is the last of these several badges. This badge is called the Slayer Badge. Defeat 200 Council Vampire, which is what these 2 ugly bastards are. We've already done the Silver Bullet, which was 200 werewolves. Then we have Spelunker Badge, which is a specific mission, which we did in the Wayback Machine. I'll show you that too. Called Rescue Fortune. What my hand raised at? Mistress. Fortune Teller. There it is. Okay, Fortune Teller mission. And that literally was given in the Wayback Machine. There's a time travel in this game, which is an awesome way of doing content you've out leveled, and I'll show you that as well. But that one is, after you just do that one simple mission, you beat it, save it, you beat it, save the lady, the fortune teller, the mystic, I think they actually call her. You get the Spelunker Badge, and that's like a level 9 mission. Most people out leveled it, so it used to be back in the day, before the Wayback Machine, you had the beg Lopies to take you to the Spelunker mission so that you could complete it, because this Atlas Medallion is just that cool. Then there's the Pupil Badge, which is a history badge that requires you to basically read 5 different plaques, which are found in like little placards that are just either on the wall of buildings or on their own little podium. Let me it has a little story associated with each of them, and most people don't read them, just know what to do, go click them. But the first time you go through, I think most people like to read them, and it's a nice little bit of lore that they've added to the game. So that's called the Pupil Badge. And then the last one was the Exploration Badge, which is the Top Dog Badge. It literally is a badge. It's this like looks like a giant ass coin sitting on the ground or on the building or wherever it's at, and you run over it and you just pick it up automatically, and you'll say Top Dog Badge earned. And that's in Atlas Park, and I'll show you where that one is because it's one of the most obvious ones. But this one here, like I said, it will be for beating these two guys, and it will get us not only that Slayer badge for beating vampires, but of course it will give us the last of the set, which allows us to get the Atlas Medallion, which is a permanent buff to my character. So let's actually go balls to the wall on this. I'm going to show you some of my powers. So here's aim, which will increase my accuracy. If I right click it, and I can show it to you, it increases my to hit chance, excuse me, say it the right way, my to hit chance and my damage output for 10 seconds. For all my attacks. So buff up, let's do a little ice storm on them, which will really do some damage, and then do the nuke blizzard. Here it comes, wait for it, give me my badge. Where is it? Give it to me, he has to die. There's my badge, and another badge earned, and that's the Accolade. You got an Accolade power. That's what that just did for us, folks. Now, so let's show you what that does. So you see it now in my upper corner over here, there's a new icon that's up there, right? And it's nice and pretty and it's blue. That's the Atlas Medallion. Atlas Medallion Accolade is reasonably easy to get. It's not the first Accolade that I ever earned when I played this game back in the day. But this one is a permanent plus 5% endurance. So your endurance bar is always 100%. Unless you get something that modifies it in some way. This is one of those ways. There's another another Accolade, out there that gives you another 5% bonus to endurance, as well as a 5% bonus to hit points. And then there's two other Accolades out there that one gives you a 5% boost to hit points, and another one gives you a 10% boost to hit points. So if you get all four of those Accolades, you can get yourself a plus 20% to your max HP and a plus 10% max to your endurance. So that's huge. For people that are having end issues, you'd be surprised how 5 more endurance will go to making your character happy. But let's actually play around a little bit and show you some of my characters. This is a defender. This is Cold Dark Knight. I'm actually going to go on to accept no invites. I don't want to be bothered. But I'm going to go to the map over here. We have a monorail. I'm going to go to there. That's the T, one of the T's. The other one's a tunnel. The monorail is like you see right here. It's the way to get around the city before travel powers. And some people don't ever get travel powers. They'll rely on things like Ninja Run, Sprint, Beast Run, which you'd be surprised at how spiffy and fast you actually get with some of these abilities. I mean, I can jump pretty damn high with this one alone. And places that I can't get to, I have this cool little jetpack. It's a temporary jetpack, but it has a timer on it for like 60 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever you get a buff. But you can jump all over the damn place. And the great thing about this game is no matter how far you fall, you don't die from falling damage. You can go down to 1 hit point. It literally will sap everything all the way down to 1 hit point if you fall too far. So let's actually see if I can show that to you. I'm just going to go up and up and up and up until the thing actually crashes on. So you see the icon here is the jetpack. Oop, I shut it off apparently. And boom, 427 damage. Not enough. But that's the point, because you can literally go all the way down to 1 hit point. It will not kill you no matter how far you fall. However, having said that, do not fall on top of a spawn of bad guys who will immediately pull out their guns and open fire on you, because you would be a screwed pooch. Here is our map. This is Founders, it doesn't say it here, Founders Falls. Says it in here. You are here. I'm going to close that just so we don't mess anything up. You are here. We can zoom in. You can actually drag these windows sideways to make them slightly bigger, so in and down as well. So you can see the size of the scope of this particular map. This is just one of many city zones. Now I've highlighted this one by clicking it, left clicking it. Anything that literally is a dot that you can literally hover over, you can click it and it'll give you a waypoint to follow on the map. Universities, we have base portals, there's bases in this game. You can get a super group going, you can make your own base and store stuff in the base and help each other out. It's quite cool. Here's a hospital. When you quote-unquote die in this game, usually you get ported to a hospital. And I say usually because in certain missions where you're inside and the bad guys are wailing on you, you don't get to go to the hospital. They actually lock you in a cage, and then it's up to you to break out of the goddamn cage and then go fighting the bad guys. Well, guess who's waiting right outside that cage? And that's right, all the bad guys again. So it's quite fun when you get into those missions and you're like, oh crap. There is Vidiot maps is a thing that you can download that I told you about earlier. Your map, when you get this game in the beginning, will not look like this. It'll look like everything you see here, except you won't see this information, all this wording up here. You won't see these wordings here for CoT. That's a specific bad guy circle of thorns. And their level, 34 to 37, is about the range you'd find those bad guys. You will see stuff like this. Inferno will be there. Williams Square, when you run over that area, you almost have to unlock it by walking over the area, removing the fog of war, so to speak. You have these basic areas here, but you will not see like where you see the 6 and the 1 and the 8 and the 2 and the 1. Those are referring to various things. So the ones that are in green, they're like the 6 and the 1 and the 2, those are badges. And this is what the badge is called if you look it up online. This is if you're having a hard time finding it, because even Vidiot's maps get this wrong sometimes. Type in foggy, CoH foggy badge, and it'll give you several different links. Maybe you'll find it that way. There's been a couple that have had to troubleshoot because they were wrong on the map, and I just could not find them. But that's where they're located, the general area that they're located in, and therefore you can go to those areas, find those badges. Every badge you find is XP, and it scales with your level, so it's decent XP for even a level 45 character. A level 1 character would get a decent amount of XP just from finding all the badges too. And there's badges in almost every zone. The ones that are yellow, like you see here, the 1, that is a plaque, and there's another one in here too, and this plaque looks slightly different, still yellow. See, this one looks like a flag, so to speak, and this one looks like a 3-dimensional figure. The ones that look like the flags are literally on the wall. They're plaques against the wall, and the ones that here that look like a 3-dimensional figure are actually a podium. So if you didn't know this, when you get Vidiot Maps even changes this so you can help read the things. So here's where exploration badges are. The pedestal mounted plaques to read, and wall mounted plaques. Notice if there's a task force or a strike force, which is the villain side, or a trial contact, someone you need to talk to start a badass set of missions, that has this massive sunburst pattern. A trial room door has this pattern. A day job location has the diamond pattern. So that's literally Vidiot's Maps way of saying, here's some information that you guys probably need to parcel out what the hell this is actually trying to tell me. So here's a exit to the city, Aden, a new zone. Here's Talus Island. We have, let's see if there's anything else I can show you on here. Oh, the pattern that you see in here, this green, literally, I don't think it says it on this one. It says over here, green parallel lines that cross the entire zone are passed for Rikti dropships on their initial bombing runs. So what that literally means is if there's a Rikti, it's like an instance. How do I explain this? The game will randomly generate bad guys to fight, right? Then there's these aliens that have invaded called the Rikti. Weird little alien sons of bitches, and they're in this green armor, they shoot laser guns, and they're just general jackasses. And when the Rikti invasion occurs sporadically in the game, they will literally have ships that fly through the area and drop bombs. So this is the path that they're coming, whether it's this way or down. Basically wherever you see these green lines, that's where you're going to see those paths of the ships bombing the area. The reason that that's important is because there's actually an accolade that's associated with taking out the bombs before they explode, killing so many mech soldiers that show up from the Rikti, and a different kind of Rikti bad guy as well. So those are specifically for elusive mind is the accolade, and that accolade is a clickable power, kind of like these powers here. Instead of it being a permanent buff to something, this is a temporary buff. For like 1 minute, it gives you a buff to defense against psychic attacks, or psionic attacks, as well as a massive resistance buff to psionic attacks as well. So that's extremely useful. So now here is our monorail. We have to decide where to go. Let's actually take you to Steel Canyon South. It's my favorite place to be, so to speak. just because that's where I do all my crafting. So I want to show you a little bit about recipes. Remember we talked in the last video about enhancements. I'm going to show you where I make my enhancements, because you can make them anywhere that there is a university, and this is one of the first universities I find. It's a low-level area, so it's reasonably acceptable. The clear one service to fix them. Accept donations. Please join our Discord. I already did that. Yep. Okay. To move, W forward, A shift, D shift, S back, X to go down when you're flying. To go up while you're flying, press spacebar like jump. Okay, so if I shut off the flying and if I press spacebar, I jump. Very lamely, of course, because I don't have any super jump or even combat jumping on. If I do have combat jumping on, you'll notice that I can not only jump higher, but I can actually kind of control how I jump, where I land, so to speak. I shut that off, try to jump in any direction other than the direction you are moving in, and you won't be able to really control it very much. So combat jumping is extremely helpful, and it's a relatively cheap toggle to have, and you can even keep it on. It's giving me a nice little defense bonus that's including what I have here, thanks to it running. I shut off the fly power from sorcery power pool, and I still have my combat jumping on. We are at Wentworth. This is the auction house. Let me show it to you on the map. Where are we? Down here. Yeah, I'm going to get out of it so you guys can see it. My icon is overcrowding the icon. So, actually, there's another icon. Should be. It's a little weird. There always was in the past. I wonder if Vidiot Maps replaced it. Oh, that sucks. But 8 is where Wentworth is. So literally, somewhere you want to be is right in here. This is. They look the same on hero side anyway. They look the same everywhere you go. Is this god-awful Wentworth building, right? And go inside, talk to any of these people here. This person gives you like a general tutorial, I think, on how to run stuff and how much it costs, because there's fees associated with it, not anything that you pay, something that your character pays. This is your in-game currency called INF, I-N-F. And hero side is called Influence. You see I have over 19 million. I've been pretty successful on this character. On the villain side, it's I-N-F, but instead of Influence, it's called Infamy. And if you go gold side, which is kind of like an alternate dimension where heroes and villains are kind of crisscrossing lines, there's also is Inf, but I forget what it's actually called. Information, maybe? But the point is that they kept with the same theme, that INF was your currency on all three sides. So here is your pop-up menu. When you talk to an employee, this pops up, and you can do a variety of things. So let's go through that, shall we? Here's enhancements we can just straight up buy. Remember we talked about our Hamios? Here's some right here. We have crafted ones. These are ones that literally scale with you as you level. Extremely useful. You'll see we have different categories. These literally like every category of power upgrade that you can get. Even ones that are specific for your class, your archetype, excuse me. So you see Defender archetype sets. This is my sets. That would be for my specific class. Okay. I have Defender's Bastion. I have Superior Defender's Bastion, where you basically upgraded, so it's just slightly better. Superior Vigilant Assault, this is the new one, and Vigilant Assault. So I remember this one, and apparently none have been released yet. No one have any dropped yet, or purchased and tried to sell any, because these are things that are so expensive you probably wouldn't do that. But here are the ones that are already pre-crafted from other people that are selling them. They have them and they said, oh, I don't want it anymore, or I've upgraded. So you go through here. Now maybe you won't find it until you get to the low-level ones. Notice it gives me a little prompt to let me know that I can't go past level 48. Why? Because I'm level 45. Remember I said the +3? Even with these craftables, that's still a thing. I can go anywhere lower than 48. So 48 down to 1 is perfectly fine for me on the crafted ones. But at 49 and 50, and even 51 and above, because these can actually go up to 53, I can't craft those yet. I'll have to literally wait till I get to a level 50 character to be able to craft or slot any of those. So this is the highest I could possibly grab it. But notice none are for sale. One sold way back when, and it sold for $1 million. So that should show you how valuable some of these things are. Notice some of these have that proc I told you about. In this case, this proc is a chance for a plus to hit. Now this one, unless they fixed it, used to be borked back in the day, just to warn you in advance. This power that you would slot this in is a defense debuff power, and it's an accurate defense debuff power. What does that mean? So there's defense debuff powers that will just hit, period. Doesn't matter how good their armor class is, or their defenses are, they can't dodge out of the way of it. They literally will get hit. This one is an accurate defense debuff, which means I have to do to hit check, which means I have to have an accuracy that's high enough to hit the mark. Okay, so that's this set. So I'm increasing the accuracy of a specific attack that's going to lower the defenses of the target. This chance to hit should be a buff for me. Every so often when you cast this power, this proc will fire off and you will get whatever buff it gives. I forget what it is. This is a 10% or 20% increase to your chance to hit the targets from that point on for like the next 5-10 seconds. A useful buff, you would think. The downside is instead of buffing you, it actually buffs the bad guy, I believe. So it, like I said, it's been borked for a while. Shield Breaker, it has a proc, and its proc is one of the more useful ones in my opinion. This is just a straight up chance for damage. So like it says here, the effect will trigger roughly every 3.5 times per minute, assuming you're attacking, so often, right? But you really have to slot again in a power that has an accuracy or defense debuff capabilities associated with it. Okay, there's other ones in here, defense sets. Again, some really useful ones. There's procs in Karma. That's KB protection, and this one's going to sell for Boku cash. So let's actually show you level 1 through 30. Yeah, pre-crafted, definitely worth having. It gives you knockback protection. All you have to do is slot it in a defense power of any kind. Hell, combat jumping is a defense power. So I could slot it in there right now, and that would give me 4 protection, magnitude protection from knockback, knockdown, knock up. It'll keep you from flip-flopping like a damn fish when they start throwing those knockback powers and moves on you. It won't protect you from all of them, because some throw you back so far that even 4 is not enough. But you can slot more than 1 if you'd like. Not of that kind. That kind is actually a unique one. Literally, you're not allowed to have more than 1 of these, I believe, in a set. Then you have Luck of the Gamblers, which are classic. These are the ones that have the global recharge one that I was showing you earlier on my previous video. This is the one that's a 7.5% increase to all recharge abilities on every power that you have. There's ones that give really weird benefits. Like here's a PvP version. This one is one of my favorites. It's Shield Wall. It gives you plus 3% resistance to everything. So you slot it in a defense power, and for whatever reason, it does decided to give you resistance buff with it. I don't know why. Actually, it's not 3%. It's 5%. It used to be 3. I wonder if that changed. That's interesting. Also gives you teleport protection, which again, I'm not really sure how that works in this game. You either get teleported or you don't. But it says that it protects you from it, so that's nice. One that you're going to want in your stamina powers, if you're really having a hard time keeping your endurance up, which is this blue bar you're seeing up here. This guy is invaluable, so he's going to be a pricey little bastard too. Chance for plus endurance. So this gets thrown in an endurance modifiable power. Remember we had the electric attacks that you could zap people with? You could drain their endurance. That's an end mod, not endurance reduction. That's different. That's a completely different category that has no set bonus category for it. But this guy literally gives you endurance randomly back. Every time you attack, for instance, with an electric power, you slot one of these in there. Every time you fire it off, roughly 1.5 times in a minute, it will trigger and throw you back like 10, I think, endurance every time it does it. That's a lot of endurance. 10% is a huge, here's 10 endurance back. Here's 10 endurance back. And here's more 10 endurance back. You'd be surprised how often that comes back. And the beauty is if you slap that in powers like stamina, powers that are always running, see, I've already done it, then you really are constantly firing off a bump to endurance. So here, let me see if I can demonstrate this to you to show you the importance of it. So to do this, I'm going to have to go down and fight bad guys. I'm going to leave every damn toggle on that I can leave on. That's going to cost me endurance so that I can drain myself efficiently. And I can actually teleport. That's going to drain a decent amount of endurance every time too. You see my endurance is getting sapped every time I do this. So if you just keep teleporting like this, then you'll see eventually I'm going to get to the point where what I call crashing. So if I crash, I'll literally lose the ability to keep my toggles running. Okay, keep an eye on my endurance. You see that it's pulsing. The endurance is pulsing because you are constantly recovering endurance all the time, unless someone debuffs you for some reason, which does happen. So everyone has recovery. So your blue bar should always be going back up. If you just wait long enough, it'll get back to full. Same with your health. You always regenerate, again, unless someone's debuffing you. So you should always see from one hit point, you should go all the way back to full if you just wait long enough. So that's a thing. So now here I am, and I crashed. Now watch my endurance go up steadily. Okay, it'll pulse every so often. Now sadly, it doesn't give it to you every second like it says it does. I say it ticks after so many cycles, but you should see it every once in a while. It'll surge to like a ridiculous amount. So when it just pulses a little, pulses a little, pulses a little, that's fine. But then when it pulses and it gives you 10 back because the proc fired off, you'll really start to notice it. Anyway, this character, he has Dark Miasma powers, he has Ice Blast powers. I haven't respected him yet, and I probably will. There's a power or two that I don't like, a power or two that I do want, but he's already into his, let's find it. Sorcery is a power pool set. He got Arcane Bolt, Mystic Flight, which is the one I was using to fly and teleport. When flight is on, this goes up here, and that's your teleport ability. And I have Arcane Bolt here, just random energy damage. I can actually demonstrate some of these attacks if you'd like. Even if you don't, I'm going to do it anyway. So here's a bad guy. He's routing somebody. Hey, how dare you fall, villain? Magic attack. Oh, that was nice. That was an energy attack. The reason I actually kind of like this set is because it's got chance of knockback on the power, which I don't particularly care for. But the damage type of damage is energy damage, which is not a type of damage that I normally do. I do ice damage, which is cold damage, and usually smashing or lethal damage with it. So if I have a target that's resistant to cold and or smashing and or lethal, well, at least I have at least one attack that may have a chance of damaging the jackass. So that's why I kind of like that one. The other reason to really get this for me was Rune of Protection. That's this little power here. So what this one does is it's a global buff to your resistances. Right here, 25% increase to the resistance of your character, which means all incoming damage, if this is the only resistance I have, all damage is cut by a quarter. You understand? So 25% literally means. And literally you cannot have, as a defender, you cannot have resistances of any kind higher than 75%. So you're always going to take damage. Even the tanks in this game have a cap on their resistance. Theirs is much greater. It's 90%. So are brutes, I believe. So I can get to 75% for most of the things that I want to protect against, and that's the reason for this set. I pop this bad boy off. For instance, here's my psychic resistance. When this powers on, you see I have 28.76% resistance, and that's probably because I've modified it with something. Shadowfall. Here we go. And I have a resistance damage SO in here, and I have a resistance IO in here. Notice that again, I've been trying to keep at least one IO in every power. Some don't get it yet. But I'm not particularly worried about these because they just come up and I just use them as I need. But some literally have just one in there, and I'd really like to have more. Now I have crafted more, as you can see, but I am limited on which ones I can use because, again, I've crafted a bunch of 50s and a 40. This one here could go into here, and it would increase my terrorize, the duration, from 21.6 seconds to 29.94 seconds. That's a pretty large increase, but I want to wait till this kind of falls off before I slap that in there, because this range increase has actually been pretty helpful for me, because the range of the power is only 70-foot cone, Now it's an 84.7 foot cone. So it's just as far as my ice bolt power, my ice blast powers and stuff like that. So I am going to slot these things eventually. The neat trick though is, like I said, I have this power which is increasing my resistance. This power is an epic power pool. When you get to level 35, you can pick from a specific set of powers called epic pool powers. And then, like I said, they kind of shore up the defenses or the limitations of whatever your set does. For instance, I'm not very resistant to damage. I don't have a lot of defense, I don't have a lot of resistance, so they give me a buff, a toggle. I can pick it if I want, of course, and I did so, and this buffs my resistance to smashing, lethal, negative damage, and toxic damage, which is extremely rare. If you look at it for info, it'll tell you more. It is a toggle, so it costs endurance per second, and this is augmentable, so I can decrease the endurance cost, and I can also increase the amount of resistance, and I've yet to do so. But you can see that's a pretty decent amount of smashing and lethal resistance. Same with toxic and negative energy. While those are pretty lame, the good news is if you go under combat attributes here, you can see a whole slew of stuff. This is how I'm actually monitoring several things like my current hit point level, my influence. I can actually monitor now, thanks to my Atlas Medallion, my current endurance. Like, yay. Close that out, and you see the endurance here, and I'll just move it up. I'd like to have it with the hit points. Keep going up, like so. And all I'm doing is right clicking to pop up this menu. One more. Alright, so now there's my hit points, current hit points, not total, because I want the current, because if it's really low, I want to see that it's low. Same with the endurance. But you can see my endurance is actually cycling between the 105, which is as high as it can be right now. It's constantly pulsing down. Why? Because I have toggles running. So you'll see that it's dipping, and then it's coming back up. Then it's dipping, and it's coming back up. So that's how you can kind of keep track of it instead of just looking at the bar. Influence, how much money I have. I wanted to monitor that, but I also monitor other things like my defense or my resistance, my damage bonus if I have, any protection I have from certain mezzes. So here's damage resistance. Notice with these two toggles running, let's actually put on my 3 toggles. With these 2 toggles though running for resistance buff, I got a decent smashing lethal resistance, nothing against fire and cold, a really decent energy protection, and a really solid negative energy protection for incoming damage. A decent psionic resistance, which again is rare in this game, and so is toxic, which is low, sure, but 15% is way better than the 0 that it was for like fire and cold. Now if I pop this little trinket here, this is my Rune of Protection from the sorcery pool. Watch what happens to all my stats. Up by 25%, right? And again, I can modify that to make that 25% much greater. But now I have, for at least 1.5 minutes, a really decent smashing and lethal protection. Got good energy protection. Almost capped my negative energy protection. Remember, 75 is as high as I can take it. My psi protection is pretty damn good, and even my toxic resistance is good. Fire and cold is still lagging behind, but still, that's better than nothing. This is a way, again, to shore up some of those limitations. Epic power pools do this. My defenses are lame. I get 5% from this toggle, my Shadowfall, which is that toggle that also gives me resistances. It also gives me kind of like a cloak around me. That's the little dark mist that you're seeing on me. It's 5% defense for everything. Yes, I can modify that, I can increase that as well, but then the downside is that if I'm upping the defense, I'm probably not upping the resistance. So you have to kind of decide which one do you want to really focus on. I can actually split it a little bit and make both of them kind of suck, but kind of not bad. So that's a way to go. Notice my combat jumping alone, and this is just literally a toggle that's super cheap to run, is giving me 2.5 defense from everything. And while that doesn't sound stellar, it's half the strength of this big ass power piggy that this guy is. So let's look at how much endurance we're burning up. Okay, so here's our recovery rate. This is how much endurance we're getting back per second. And this is based on the maximum endurance you have. So the more endurance you have, the better your recovery rate is as far as the end per second. Because the percentage will stay the same. But remember, the percentage is based on 100 normally. Mine is now 105. So this number won't change, but this number will go up because it's based on 105. Base, this is what everybody gets. Stamina, everybody gets that, but I've modified mine a little bit, so I have extra. And I even have a set bonus somewhere that's giving me another 0.03 endurance per second from some set that I've slotted in my powers, maybe more than one. So that's not bad. But notice my endurance consumption. It doesn't break it down per category, but total with all these three toggles on, I'm burning 0.57 endurance per second. Or sorry, percent per second. 0.6 endurance per second. So if you take my maximum, 2.54, literally you subtract this number from it, and that's really what I'm actually recovering per second. So just under 2 endurance per second I'm getting back, which is why you're seeing it pulse. It goes down because of it draining some from these toggles, and then it sucks some back up again when it spikes another endurance recovery in. So that's the thing. Notice that we have a stealth radius. That's again provided by my Shadowfall power, which is this toggle here. If I shut it off, the stealth goes away, my resistance to psi and all kinds of other stuff goes down. My endurance recovery or consumption goes down because it was a big power piggy. So you can see that that was helpful for getting my blue back up. So if I was really, really low, I probably wouldn't run all these toggles. This one you can almost keep on because it's super goddamn cheap. This one though, and this one, unless you start slotting them, become real big power pigs. 0.3 endurance per second right now. This one is 0.24 endurance per second. So those two alone are 0.54 endurance. Whereas this little goober is what, 0.06. That's lame. It's super cheap. It's definitely, if you have a spare slot, you haven't have anything else, another power to pick, you can't think of anything else, highly recommend combat jumping, even if it's the last power you pick. For mobility alone, when you're fighting in battle, and you need to get the hell out, like they've mobbed you in a big ass circle, and you need to jump and clear over their heads, combat jumping will get you there. And it's cheap, and it gives you a little bit of defense, and it gives you resistance, as well as immobilization protection. So you can be immobilized with powers that will lock you to the ground, so to speak. Paralyze you, that's holds. Immobilize just keeps you from moving. Well, this one will actually protect you up to 7 point something immobilized protection, and that's actually extremely helpful to get the hell out of the way. Now they will spam some of those hits on you and you will be locked down, and this is still running, so it's not like you've done anything wrong. Again, you just exceeded the amount of immobilization mag protection that you had. And again, that scales as you level. So it starts off low, it gets better as you get higher in character level. But 8.3 is pretty damn high for as cheap as this thing is. That's a really nice one. But let's actually kind of go through some of my powers, shall we? So I've already showed you the toggle. Here's Shadowfall again. And it's not just a toggle for me, it's an AoE buff for me and anyone around me that's, you know, quote unquote friendly. They don't even have to be on your team. They just have to be a character that's friendly. So let's walk over here to Gamma Ray Girl over here and watch how the cloud will get on her feet. See what I'm saying? That's my buff protecting her. So you can guarantee that she has that buff. Same with over here. If I go over here, you see these guys are going to light up too. Right? Anyone that's basically a quote unquote good guy is going to get the buff. That includes their pets. That includes, you know, anything that people pull out for help. Speaking of pets, shut that one off. Here's my pet. Dark Miasma is very cool in that it does actually have a pet. It's called Dark Servant. This is your tier 9 ability. Here's Fluffy, is what I call him. Say, hey, Fluff. He's looking right at me. This is Fluffy. Fluffy, if you want to see what he can do, you right-click him, go View Combat Attributes, and you can see his stats, you know, what he actually has. Notice this, you are viewing the attributes of Dark Servant, not me. So this is who I'm looking at. So this is what he has going for him. He has a decent amount of hit points. He has a full 100% endurance, just like any other character would. Here's his regen rate. Here's his recovery rate. Here's his endurance consumption. He doesn't have any endurance consumption, which is kind of baller, because he does have powers that are currently on him. He has decent resistance to negative energy. Remember, and I can buff that. Watch this. I turn my toggle on and watch what happens to all his stats there. Boom. His energy actually goes up because he was actually in the negative zone. If you have negative resistance, by the way, it means you take more damage from that type of damage. So he's very susceptible to energy attacks. Now he's less susceptible. He's a little resistant to it. But his negative energy is baller. And I gave him some psychic protection. And I even gave him some damn defense. That's coming from Cold Dark Night. That's my power right here. So again, he's getting that 5% defense, which again, I can modify. So shut that off. So by himself, he doesn't have any defenses, so that's kind of sucks. He has no resistances to debuffs. He doesn't have any protection from status effects, or resistance effects are basically the normal durations on him. But if you again right click him and say view combat attributes to info, tells you about him here. If you go here and do it, you can actually see his powers. Okay, so let's just say at level 50, because that's almost what you're interested in. So it takes a while to activate him. He has a 4-minute cooldown time, so that sucks. But he actually lasts for all those 4 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, as well. He's a power pig. He costs 26 endurance just to cast him, so that's the thing. But you know, you're going to cast him once and forget about him for a while, so I don't mind that too much. I can cast him at distance, 60 feet away from me, and I use him to pull mobs, or to take the Alpha Striker when I don't want to get hit with everything, because who cares about the Dark Servant Knight, am I right? He has all these powers though. Here's Chill of the Ninth, what it does. He's basically a PBA effect centered on himself. He does a debuff to all the bad guys around him. A 36.6 to hit debuff. And he just does generally 75% chance of just doing random damage to him. Negative energy damage. It's nothing stellar, nothing to like kill the boss, but it'll help. And it does get a lot of aggro because of that. But that minus to hit buff, well, that's really helpful. That's his version of basically defense then. Then he has Twilight Grasp, which is a power that I have as well. It's basically a single target debuff. You target a bad guy, you heal off of them, and in so doing you debuff their damage output, their chance to hit, which is 6.1 here, and a 50% decrease to their regen rate. So if he only had 100% regen, like a typical character does, you hit him once with this power, his regen is cut in half. That's pretty badass, and I have that ability too. He has Petrifying Gaze, which I also have. It's a single target hold, magnitude 3. Doesn't last very long, but we can scale that up if we want to with slots, with enhancements. He has Darkest Night, which again I have. So he's basically a mini version of me. Darkest Night is a really nice toggle. That's this one right here. It's a power pig for me, and probably the same for him, I'm assuming. But he basically slaps it on a target, and the target, any of the targets around the target with a massive radius at 25 feet, up to 10 targets total, including the one I'm assuming that you're targeting, gets debuff for strength. Basically their damage output by 30% goes down, and their to hit goes down minus 18.3. And again, I can slot that part in his powers, and since most of his powers have a to hit debuff on them, that's probably the way to debuff or to slot his set, his accuracy and to hit debuffs. Why? Because almost all the powers he's going to use have that to hit debuff component to it, and you want them to hit, and you'd like the debuff to be greater than it is. He has Snapper's Tentacles. This is an AoE that I don't have. It is an Immobilize. It does minor, and I can't stress this enough, minor damage, but it's smashing / negative energy damage, and it again has a to hit debuff on it, and of course that Immobilize effect. That's a 3.0 magnitude. It's nothing that's going to be, you know, locking down bosses, but he can attack it reasonably frequently, because it's every 15 seconds. If you buff it for duration, it will last past that 15 seconds, so you can actually lock down a boss with this, given enough time. And of course he has his built-in resistances, which you saw. He's resistant to negative energy damage, and he's susceptible to energy damage. So again, that's basically his powers, quote, in a nutshell. So he's not a pet that's there to do damage. He is there to basically help out. Get back. Shut it back off. This is not temp power, it's a free power. They call them temporary powers, I guess, so it still falls in the category, right? Oh no, prestige. Is it prestige power? Yeah, because this is a different jetpack than that jetpack. Anyway, early in the game, travel becomes an issue. And besides using the bus and using sprint, this is ninja run, this is not sprint. Sprint, I can put it down here so you can see it. This is how fast you move with sprint on, okay? And I'm upgraded a little bit, so you go faster the higher level you are. So I'm actually pretty darn zippy just with sprint on. I can combine sprint with ninja run, just to show it to you. See here, the toggle's still running. It is costing endurance now twice. But I am pretty darn fast just with those two abilities, and those are free in the game. So if you don't want to travel power, feel free to get Ninja Run or Beast Run is the same. It just looks, it's a different animation. I don't like it because, again, you're kind of hunched over, running like an animal on all fours. But for some people, for your build, it makes sense. So feel free to pick it. You get some pretty decent height. Ninja Run and Beast Run, by the way, are unslottable. It's just whatever they are out of the box. They may get better as you level up, but you cannot enhance them in any way. So if you, as you level up, you see that the speed and the jumping height and the jumping speed is better. So it gets better over time even. So if you can't make, give you for instance, if you can't make the jump from here to up there at the very beginning, that's why. And you're like, yeah, my other tune you can't. It's because your other tune's like level 30 or so. And again, this one's got some really nice control to it. I would never leave this running in combat because, again, it is such a power pig, but extremely useful. That's a massive amount of endurance, whereas this one, which shuts this off, by the way, because you can't have both of them on at the same time, because one's a jump power, one's the other jump power. So here's combat jumping on. It's, good, but you see that even combat jumping is not high enough to get up there. So when you just get that Ninja Run on, baby, get that parkour. Here you go. You get really good with Ninja Run. And when it was released, it was very close to when the game closed down. So people kind of liked it and kind of didn't like it. I actually jived on it because I had a lot of tunes where I didn't like taking travel powers, because while they're useful, they're less useful later on because you're just running from mission to mission. Some more likely than not, you can fly there with like your own jetpack that you get, which, by the way, do I have a jetpack? I have the 0G pack and I have a jetpack. And my Ouroboros portal. And I'll show you that before we get off. But these ones here, this is a jetpack, or sorry, a jump pack, a 0G jump pack. This basically mimics super jumping to an extent. It's not as good as super jump, but it's pretty goddamn close. You can control your movement and jump around and even jump backwards, and you get some pretty good height on it. This is a way for you to get familiar with super jump to see if you would like it, in my opinion. And it's a good way to get an early travel power. Notice it has a duration on the clock. So literally while it's running, I'm actually burning up that clock. Now I want to shut it off. Fall, take a little bit of damage, but I don't care. Now I can do the other one, which is Jetpack. This one basically simulates flight, just like it would. And again, it also has a timer on it. Now, to get these, and this is why this is important to you guys, to get these, as you level up, without power leveling, of course, if you just level up the normal way, you do what's called radio missions. So if you go to mission, go to contact, you get a radio from King's Row, the very first place you go to where you can do these is King's Row, level 6 I want to say, and it'll be a, let me see if I find one, it's probably under, it's under detectives, here we go. The detective in King's Row gives it to you, different one each time, but it depends on, I think your origin, but mine is Detective Bectrees. When you go there, as soon as you get into King's Row, you'll have an icon telling you go to Detective X, and they go talk to him or her. You go talk to them, and they give you the radio in King's Row. From there, you can press the radio and see if there's any missions in your area. You do enough radio missions, I want to say like 3 or 4, and are successful, and then it will say you don't have anything in the area, something big is going down, you need to go talk to Detective Bectrees again. You go talk to the detective and he'll give you a mission to save a bank. A bank is being robbed. You and your team go save the bank from an arch villain, probably less than an arch villain, probably like a boss, but still they're pretty tough, especially the higher levels. And if you succeed, you get one of these things, a 0G pack or a jetpack, just depends on which one you're doing, which mission you're completing. So this was the early way to get travel powers in the game, was you could do the radio missions, and it still is. You get it, you last for a good long while. Now again, people will hover forever, talking on the phone with their friends, and I'm AFK, I'll be right back. Well again, the clock is ticking, you dumbass. You're burning up your jetpack for no good goddamn reason. So why do that to yourself? So what you should do is leave it off, go somewhere where it's in a corner somewhere, just be left alone. If you need to make a jump you can't make and you don't have the 0G pack, what I commonly do is just do this. jump up, over, let it go, done. That burnt up maybe 2 seconds of time. I literally managed to get to 50 almost all the time with my jetpack as my only real travel power, and I still have like 10 minutes on the clock still. And that thing's like only lasts for an hour. This one here, again, if I get this one, if I'm lucky enough to do both of those missions, sometimes you just don't, because you just don't want to. You have more important stuff to do. But if I have both of these, I'll use this as my main travel power forever. And only when I need to clear the hurdle or something, like I can't jump high enough to get up past that spot. If I couldn't do that, then I activate the jetpack and just fly up. So, but that's cheap and easy ways to get around in the game, guys. And again, sprint is a toggle. You get it for free. It's pricey. You can slot it. I don't recommend it. I would slot it, if anything, I'd slot it for speed, because you're probably never going to leave it on while you're in the mission. If you do leave it on while in the mission, especially in the caves, you will learn to hate it because you're moving so fast. Then I would slot it for endurance instead of speed, because you're already zippy enough inside a cave. You don't need to be super fast. But again, you see with unslotted, it and my ninja run, I'm pretty goddamn fast. And if you want to know how fast, the game actually has that for you in combat attributes, guys. Go here, go to movement, and you can actually see how fast I'm running. I can run at 52.99 miles per hour, and that's no powers, technically speaking. These are just shit that you get for free in the game. So I can actually move at a pretty good clip. Now, super speed's going to travel a lot faster than that, but if you didn't want to waste a power pick on something like super speed, well, here's another alternative. You got some pretty decent height. You know, look at the height I get on this as I go up in level. I'm jumping pretty goddamn good. And you'd be surprised at how far you can get. When you need to get that extra distance, you have those 2 temp powers I just showed you. They're extremely useful for that reason. So just have those in your bar. If you want to have, by the way, so since this is the first video in the game, I should show you some stuff real quick before we call it quits. Here's how your tray shows up when you start. Go to your menu, options. This will be how you adjust settings. If you want super cool graphics, if you want your cursor to be slightly bigger, so you see if my little pointer cursor gets bigger as I drag it that way, or smaller, that's on you. Graphics and audio. Mine for the longest time was stuck on this massive setting here, and it was great. But all the text was like super teeny tiny, and I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And I know I got a 1920 by 1080p monitor. I switched it to this, and the screen would go blank. And I'm like, what the hell did I just do? And I panic. Give it a minute. It's recalibrating for the new settings, and then it should pop back up. All your screens are going to be big or weird or like jumbo size or teeny tiny or whatever, but you can adjust that again from your menu here or from this. That's this window scale. Make it smaller if you need to shrink it down, make it bigger if they're teeny tiny. That's what that's for. But the thing that was bugging me was when I was on this one, my graphics looked like shit. I'm like, now I know I got a 1080p and I know my graphics card can handle it. I didn't have my 3D resolution scaling up to this level. When I switched from this 3840 2160, this one was down all the way when I switched to this. And so my character looked just kind of a little fuzzy. Nothing looked quite as crisp as I wanted it to be. And I'm like, what the actual? Yeah, I know he looks a little blocky to begin with, but that's everybody in this game. So I'm like, what the hell? When I finally figured that out today, I was like so happy because now I can actually read these things. This is the right size for my monitor. This is what I want it to be. I'm on ultra settings, or high quality, or ultra, which is pretty goddamn good, and my computer's handling just fine. Notice that I have to keep the sound down really low. That's even with me playing it, because I got it going through my headphones now, as well as I don't want to deafen you guys, because the first time I had it, it was like 25%. You could not hear me talk over the game, especially when powers were going on. So close that out. That's again under options. Powers. You have powers here, and again you can see them. You can drag them and drop them into these things here in a second. I'll show you that. Inspirations are these Skittles that I was told you about. The multicolored, hence the name Skittles. We have ones that just randomly drop. You can purchase these, of course, too, but randomly drop as you kill bad guys, or excuse me, arrest bad guys. You're a hero. And these are the high-level ones. These are in damage buffs. They'll be red. All the damage ones are red. All the ones that give endurance back instantly by just clicking it will be blue. And this is tier 3. This is tier 2. Tier 1 you don't see. The purple ones are defense buffs. And then these buffs, by the way, that are damage, defense, resistance, accuracy / to hit, whatever. It says accuracy, but I believe it's a to hit buff, and I can tell you that too because we can actually monitor it. But the point is these ones all last like a minute or some such. And again, you can get info on it for 60 seconds. Yeah, so most of the ones that are buffs per se, not the instant health, the instant endurance, but the ones that are buffs last a minute. Now the break freeze, these are the ones that basically prevent mez from happening. These are the ones you can use while mezzed, by the way. So if you're like holding your head and you're like held or sleeping or whatever the hell mez effect you're under, you can pop one of those, doesn't matter, and break out of it. That's hence the name break free. This is the low one, the tier 1, small version, however you want to call it. And look what it gives you, mez protection. Even at level 1, the low one, it's a really nice buff for protection from all these various mez effects. So look at them. We got sleep, we got holds, those are paralyzed spells, so to speak. Stun, which is the ones where you're still not paralyzed, you can't attack, but you kind of walk around all drunken, staggered like an idiot. But it's basically the same as hold, and for that intents and purposes. Immobilize is one where you can still attack, but you're locked down to the ground. Then there's of course terrorize, which is a fear effect, where you cower in fear. It's like sleep, whereas if you attack, I can now attack you, but then I go right back to being feared again right after. Whereas sleep, if you smack me once, I'm wide awake again and I'm back into fighting. So sleep is like a watered down version of fear, so to speak, or terrorize. Confuse is the one where you literally Jedi mind trick them into fighting their friends. You have knock back, of course. Knock up and knock down is in the knockback category. Remember, if it's less than 1, that's knocked down. If it's greater than 1, it's knock back or knock up. And there are powers that are really cool for knock up, where you literally chuck them into the air. Now the downside is that you can knock someone back and they'll smack ragdoll into this wall. You would think that they would take extra damage from that. Sadly, no. You can make them take extra damage by knocking them off a cliff. So if there's a big fall after it, remember, you take damage from falling, they would too. So that's going to be a thing that could be helpful, but it's rare. Super fun when it happens though. Notice that we even have resistance to repel, resistance to taunt, and resistance to placate. Now again, I know what repel and taunt or placate are. How the hell you... No, taunt makes sense. There's TP I was thinking of. Sorry. These are the ones that literally tanks kick on you where you have to fight them. These are the ones where you won't fight me because I'm placating you. Oh no, I'm sorry, and that's what happens basically. They'll leave you alone. So those effects wear off sooner with the fact that it's a resistance. And with repel, I'm not really sure how that works, because you're usually like forcing yourself, almost like pushing through a force field. Think that. That's what repel basically is doing, is just shoving you backwards. So resistance on it, I don't know what that really means. So, and I do apologize for just not knowing that, because it's not a common effect that you're going to see. But now here's my tray of powers and enhancements. Salvage, of course, pops up a separate window, and we have multiple things in here. I usually keep it on the invention salvage. Notice that we're got a really nice amount that you can keep on you. And then, of course, there's these special ones, which I'll do a separate video on to help explain this, because I've been farming for reward merits today. But those are useful as well. The invention ones are used for the crafting of recipes. So close out the salvage one. Look at the recipe. This is what you need to make it. You need all these different salvage. Sometimes it's 1 apiece. Sometimes it's 1, 1, 2. Sometimes it's 1, 2, 4. This is whatever it is. You need to have them. Notice I'm missing it. And then it will tell you, you have 2 of these right now. You only need 1. So you have 2, but you're still missing these guys. So go buy them or go find them. Right? You'll also need this much influence. Well, we got plenty of that. So we got plenty of influence allowing me to craft this. You need a crafting table, which again are at the university. And I can make those things. If they're capable of being made, instead of being this grayed out look to them, you'll see, let's find you one. There you go. It'll be bright white, letting you know this one's ready. You could totally make this one. And I don't want it because it's a level 15. It's better than not having anything, but it's still a waste of money to me. And it's one of those where I'm going to be slotting over it as soon as I can make something better, like the 40, right? As soon as I can make this, which I can, I just need to get this circuit board. I could totally make that and slot that in power. I'd rather have a 40 than the 15. But again, you can make whatever you want. I've made a bunch of different stuff. Now, if you want to see more options for tray power picks, because again, you can see I only have 10 different choices here. Press this button here, the one that shows up. Notice that it goes up to the next tier, and it will actually start off like this. Go up again, and you'll see another one just like this. If you want to have a different row, do it like that. Do it like that twice. So you have row 1, row 2, row 3. You can have up to like 9 rows, I believe. Yeah, so there's plenty. And sadly, you will accidentally, while trying to click this button to attack, you'll accidentally do that. Go, shit. Yeah, so don't worry. Just re-click it, go back to where you're at. And these can be bound, and I think they're currently bound to a specific, like Alt 1, Alt 2, Alt 3, or whatever, Control 1, Control 2, I don't know. But again, you can do that for those that don't like to click. I'm just used to clicking it this way. But those are key binds, so that's a possibility. If you needed another tray, watch this. This is really trippy because people will overlook the plus here. Boom, look there. If I needed to have, you know, a tray number 4, because I'm getting there, right? I already need it right now. And you can drag it and put it like here. You can actually drag it and it will scale up along the wall. How cool is that? You can have it at the top. And most of these things are movable, if not all of them. I think every last thing is movable. So you have the HUD, so to speak, you know, like which way you're facing up here. The actual target can be moved around. I like having it next to the HUD, the compass, excuse me. This one can be moved. So over here if you'd like. You know, so again, if you just have a preference, feel free to shift it around, guys. There's nothing wrong with it. This one again is the one that I currently am monitoring all these things, and I can just stop displaying them all, make this whole thing disappear if I want, or just like one at a time, like get rid of this particular one, stop displaying this thing. Maybe this is getting too burdensome, you know, I don't want to have that big of a box. Your buffs, as again you see up here, this is my vigilance for being a defender, which is what I am. I get a buff to damage if I have no teammates. This allows me to solo a little bit better. It's nothing to write home about. 30% is nice, don't get me wrong, but it's not like a blaster's damage output, even with that 30% increase. But I have, of course, my Atlas Medallion, my +5 endurance, which I'm very happy with. I stopped a job. If I logged off where I'm at right now, they added jobs for your character. So this is a job location called Day Commuter, or Day Job Commuter. So notice what it does, info. It says logging out in the train station will earn you a travel speed bonus for a short time. The more the spent logged out in this location, the longer the buff will last, to a maximum of 2 hours. So after 100 hours of logged out time, you'll earn the Commuter Day Job Badge, which that's a thing, and that will enhance the travel speed bonus granted by logging out here. So not only will you be faster, you'll get a badge for it by logging out here all the time, and then every time you do log out and you log back in, not only will you be fast, you'll be faster because you've earned that special Commuter Day Job Badge. There's one for logging out in the hospital. I want to say that's for extra regen. There's one for logging out at the university. I think that increases your chance of common salvage drops or some shit. Or maybe the cost of stuff is cheaper. Wentworth is another job. I think it's called Day Trader. It's just this stupid shit they put in this game. I'm telling you, how this game is not as popular as it is in my head to other people, I don't know. But this game is baller. And I'm going to take you to one last spot before we call it quits. So we're going to go to where you actually start the game as a hero site. So that's Atlas Park. Notice how Atlas Park is full. Atlas Park 2 is where we're going. This is the way for them to basically add another zone so that it doesn't get too crowded with too many people on each server. It's not a different server. It's the same zone or city map. It's just you won't see 500 people in Atlas Park. You'll see 150 now or whatever. So here's every time you get off the tram, it's a separate exit. Here's the entrance. So if you're like, oh shit, I got to the wrong spot, don't turn around. It's a common mistake. Then try to click the thing. You're like, I was not clicking. I'm stuck. No, you're not. You're in the exit. You can't click the exit. Here's the entrance. Is over here. So just to point out, I've done it a billion times, guys. So here's Atlas Park, and I told you I'd show you the top dog badge. So here's the badge, 5, top dog, and number 5, if you zoom in, is right here. Okay, so here's Atlas Park. For those of you that don't know, spoiler alert, they're already up there grabbing it. Here's top dog, right up here, and this is what an exploration badge looks like. You just walk over it, or even get really kind of near it, and it'll ding, and you'll know it'll say badge earned, and you can say, oh, what was the most recent badge? A top dog. Oh, cool. And that's how you know to go back to that spot again. For all your other characters, there's like one up here. Like you start memorizing them. I forget which one this is, but it's on the map. And again, Video Maps tells you. Then here's where it gets trippy. So that's where people get all pissed off at Video Maps. They're like, it says there's one here, number 7, day trader, right? So, oh, sorry, that's not badge. That's the day jobs. Alumnus. Oh, no, that's the plaque. Damn it, where the hell are you? Badges. 7. Edge of Chaos is the badge that's supposed to be over here, right? Well, I don't see it. Well, clearly they made a mistake. Well, now here's where you have to do your homework. So either A, is it above? Like you'll be surprised that it's like sitting on the arm or the shoulder of a superhero statue on their head. Nope, it's not anywhere around here, and you'll like beat your head against the wall, go online, find it. So many places they'll have a location associated with it. I'll show you how to do that here in a quick second. But just so you know that there's doors that you can click and go inside buildings. Well, guess where number 7 is? That's right, it's inside the building downstairs, guys. So I'll show it to you real quick just so you don't, again, have that problem. And was it the Magi? No, next one over. These are the different origin starting spots where you, like if you are gifted, Genetic Investigation and Facilitation Team, or Data, the Department of Advanced Technology Applications, so that's tech-based people. Magi, obviously magical, which is what I am. Elite, these would be the naturals. Enhanced Logistics and Insight and Tactical Excellence. They had some really good acronyms here. Here's Seraph. Scientific Experimentation, Research, and Application to Paranormal Humans. Sounds cool. That's where your contacts are to start. Like you go in and talk to someone and get a mission. They'll give you new contacts. Anyway, the badge. Ta-da. All right, have it. So, but yeah, you'd be surprised at how fun it is to just go badge hunting sometimes. I spend all day today just badge hunting like crazy. And as you can see, I have a crap ton of badges. So, and you can set the badge as your title, so to speak. So it says right here, it says, if you click on it, yeah, Slayer has been selected as the new title. So over people's head, instead of just singing whatever the hell this guy's name is, or Arctic Illusion, you'll see the Slayer Arctic Illusion. So that's your title. These are kind of like plaques. These are the ones, like I said, podiums that you'll click on. There'll be ones on the walls. Here's who you'll go to start a super group, but you need to register and blah blah blah. Here's another badge location. Or it used to be. I don't know if that one actually still works anymore. There was something else I wanted to show you super quick before I logged off. What the hell was it? Oh, trainer derp. When you level up, you don't get anything. I mean, it'll make a big explosion of energy, and it'll be baller. It'll be obvious that you've leveled up. It'd be like kick ass, and I'll show you that in another video. But when you level up, you have to go to a trainer to get the next power or slots. Go on your map, find whoever it is on the map. Sometimes there's more than one, but if they're green person icon, that's a trainer. You can click them, make it a waypoint so that you know which direction to go, fly, jump, whatever. But this is Miss Liberty. She's the first person that'll train you, more likely than not. And there's active builds, so you can get more than one build. You see I haven't even worked on build 2. It's the same power sets. You do not get to change power sets. So if I'm dark ice, which I am, then I'll still pick dark and ice powers, but I can reshuffle them around, decide this one sooner, I don't want that one at all. You get the idea. The only ones you can permanently change, like say I'm travel power with Mystic Flight, right, since I did sorcery. Say I wanted to be super jump for whatever reason. My second build could have super jump in it, you see what I'm saying? It would be like re-leveling up. Matter of fact, let's actually just show you that, because I can actually do that for you real quick. So customize your appearance, train with new level power, select or rename your current active build. So select build 2, confirm. Notice all my powers go away. It's because I haven't picked any yet. Train to a new level of power. So it's just like I started all over again. So here's my first power pick. What do I want? I can pick 1 or 2, right? So I'm going to say, I want Twilight Grass. It's the one that heals me and debuffs the bad guy. Sounds like a good pick. Okay. Train again. Well, I want to have an attack, and they make you pick it for whatever reason, even though you have no choice. So now I'm technically a level 2 character as far as they're concerned right now. So this would be a level 2 character's choices for picks. I could pick this one or this one or this one. When you want a good attack chain, I don't care who you are, unless you're teaming with a boyfriend or girlfriend or loved one that basically is going to carry you, and you're going to be like the heal bot or the buff bot for them. You probably want at least 2 or 3 good attack powers as soon as you can. So I'm going to go Ice Blast, train to the next level. This is now level 3 where I'm going to get 2 slots available. And she tells you this if you just read those prompts. I'm just zipping through it faster. These are your inherents. Everyone gets these. So this is Sprint, Power Slide, which is just as good as Sprint, but it's like a little glowing effect under your feet. Some people like the look instead of just running. I just go with Sprint. Brawl is your staple punch. It's nothing to write home about, but it's an attack, especially early level. Rest, of course, you get at level 2. Allows you to take a knee, get your health and endurance back faster. Don't do it in combat. Swift, hurdle, health, and stamina are inherent fitness. It used to be that this was a power pool that you would have to pick from, and people would pick 3. So they'd pick Swift, health, and stamina, or hurdle, health, and stamina, because usually getting both of these was kind of silly to waste a power pick on. But you always wanted to try to get health, and you definitely wanted to get stamina, because very few people wanted to go stamina-less, because that recovery was extremely necessary. So then the devs said, you know what, everyone's picking it, let's just give them 3 to everybody. And they did. You get those at level 2, I believe. That's pretty baller. So now here's your 2 spells or power slots that you get to add. You can do here to here. Oh, I didn't want that. Okay, well then just X out. Go back to talk to her again. Train to the next level. Oh, maybe I want 1 of each. Oh, wait, no, change my mind. I really want that heal to land, and I want to have an extra slot in it. Okay, can't get out of there. Train at the next level. Let's do 1 there, and I'm using Ice Bolt. I've noticed more than Ice Blast while I'm fighting because it's cheaper and it's easier to cast that way. So let's do that. Okay, sounds good. Then keep going this way. Notice you have unlocked access to a new power set. This is level 4. This used to be level 6 back in the day. Choose from new power set. This is your power pools that anybody can get. This is how I got my sorcery powers in the first place, where I got Mystic Flight. Translocation comes with it, by the way. It's free, included. And all these other ones. I did Arcane Bolt for that extra damaging attack, for its energy damage. Spirit Ward is a teammate buff, or a pet buff. You can't put it on yourself, is what I'm basically telling you, but it's definitely helpful. Rune of Protection is that one that gave me high resistance and Mez protection. But I said that I wanted to do leaping because I wanted to get combat jumping, super jump, and maybe acrobatics. It's very common. Extremely useful protection buff. From there, I say finish. Keep going. I'm going to get 2 more slots. So let's put 1 in stamina and 1 in Ice Blast, let's say. There's no wrong answer. Well, there is, but the wrong answer would be the ones that are obvious to you. Howling Twilight, teammate heal, or res, like the whole goddamn party can die except for you. As long as you have 1 bad guy to target and they're all at your feet, you can res the entire party. And you don't even have to use it for that because it can be used as a stun and a massive debuff for the bad guy. Let's get 1 in health and 1 in Howling Twilight just because. And again, you get the idea. This is basically how you respec a character. And I have earned respecs, but they gave you, what do you want to call it, extra character slots. The reason that this is important is, and I'm just fast forwarding through this, I apologize. The reason that this is important, guys, is because I can make 2 separate builds on this character where 1 specializes, let's say, in resisting psychic attacks, psionic damage. 1 that's heavily resistant to smashing and lethal. So if I'm coming across bad guys that I'm like, oh, these bad guys are going to be, smashing lethal sons of bitches, switch to build 2. Poof, and it's like an animation. It's like you throw your hand up in the air and pow, you switch powers. Yeah, I think you can even do costume changes if you want to and stuff like that. I'm not sure, but the point is still the same. It's pretty badass. I'm picking silly shit at this point, so I'm gonna have to respec this character out because I'm already messing it up. Tar Patch and Darkest Night are kind of like staple. Train the next level of power. You notice that I'm picking a lot of powers from the dark side. No pun intended. And there's a reason for that, because they're all that good. So, Darkest Night. I could go super jump, though, to get some travel speed. Freeze Ray used to suck balls. Just to get some detailed info on this. At this level right now, it's actually doing okay damage. When it scales up, it does considerably better damage than Ice Blast. And look at the damage per activation time, 18.95. Sorry, 36.15, 35.5, 79.52. So you can kind of get an idea in this window alone what powers are going to be the powers you preferentially hit with. Your highest hitting damage attacks. Unless it's, you know, like you needed a love tap to die. Why would you waste something that costs you this much endurance when this will do, and they'll definitely down the target, and it's super cheap. So again, you'll get the feel for this as you start leveling stuff up and playing your character. Usually, slot this up. What I do is I always try to get a travel power, and you can get those sooner than I did it, that's for damn sure. But I usually try to get them 2-slotted because there's a decent set out there where a 2-slot bonus is nice. Now I can get Acrobatics, but Ice Storm is preferential in my opinion. Looks like we made new contacts. Next level. Let's get Acrobatics now, and I'll show you what that one does here in a moment. Let's get let's get those up. Oh, you know what? One of the stealth. All you have to do is click it to make it go away, guys. So, in case you didn't know that. Sorry, I don't fast forwarding through a lot of stuff. I don't want petrifying gaze on this power. Let's say this build. I have freezing ray, petrifying gaze, and bitter freezing ray on the other build. That's 3 separate holds. That's useful. I don't necessarily feel like I need them, so that's why I'm going to say no. That's the reason for respecking, in my opinion. Oh, Darkest Night, that's a toggle debuff. Acrobatics only really needs 1, so I'll probably just leave it as 1, and let's start working on ones that do damage. Again, we want to be able to hurt targets. Black Hole's one that I never seem to get. That's the one that phases the bad guys out of existence, and then they can't attack you and you can't attack them, and it pisses off your team. And therefore, I have nothing I want to pick from here, and really nothing I want to pick from here. Maybe Spring Attack, but I'm not gonna, because I don't want to jump in the middle of a fray. Let's go fighting and get something like boxing or kick, and then work towards tough and weave, and that'll give us some resistance to smashing lethal as well as some defense. Train to the next level. I can slot kick for some extra damage output, but I'm never really going to use it. It's going to be one that you have to pick it, so you did. You slot an accuracy in there and call it good. But let's get Ice Storm and Freeze Ray up because they're just that good. Tough now. Oh, Bitter Ice Bath. There we go. Better damage. Next level. Definitely want those in there. Health and stamina all at 3, and I usually do that all the time. Now it's time for tough. Next level, and I'll slot it. And let's get the Ice Storm up to 6. Ooh, I'm at 3 slots now. Let's get Freeze Ray up then to 6. Boom. Okay, next level. Notice that we can pick from another pool set, right? So we can dip as many times as you really want to, I believe. I don't know that off the top of my head. It could be like a limit of 4, but I could pick 8 other power, which would heal a teammate, but I already have a heal that's AoE heal on me and anyone near me. But I don't need a bad guy for that, for this power. So that can be useful. Leadership are extremely useful. Again, I'll go through these in another video, but again, the point is that they are available and I can dip as much as I like. Gotta get my pet though, Dark Servant. Dark Servant is awesome. Love Fluffy. Train to the next level. Get another in tough. I like to have the toggles to be 3 if I know they're going to be run all the time, except for Acrobatics, because while it's Power Pig, it's not really that bad at 0.26 versus tough, which is at 0.32. This is going to get a straight up IO endurance reduction in it. So if you wanted to 2-slot that, I could see it, but I won't unless I have the spare slot. I like doing damage, and I want Fluffy to be able to do something too. 3 more slots. Let's do, get him a full. So these are all 6, 6, and 6 now. You see Ice Bolt and Ice Blast are kind of lackluster. It's not ideal, but we can always just start adding 1, 2 of them every now and again to kind of catch them up with the others. Notice now is where it says, look, you are level 35, and now you can pick an epic power set. That's what I wanted to get you to. It used to be that was at 41, by the way, so you're getting this a lot sooner. But in so doing, usually that means I'm delaying one of these powers. Look at Bitter Freeze Ray is available. Why would I want the Epic power? But again, if I didn't want Bitter Freeze Ray, I could do this. Look at Dark Mastery. This is where I got my Dark Consumption, Dark Embrace, Soul Transfer, Soul Drain would be available later. Flame Mastery. This is basically, since you're not a character that's heavily resistant, and you have not the best damaging attacks, they give you basically damaging attacks and some resistance as well as some control effects. So you'll see like a hold or a mobilize or something like that in here. Power Mastery is impressive because of a couple things. Well, several. Conserve Power is just a cheap endurance discount. So again, if you show details, you can see it over here. It's just an endurance discount for a decent amount of time, but a massive cooldown. Power Buildup, on the other hand, look at this thing. This is not just buildup. Remember, aim and buildup were the ones that could increase your to-hit chance as well as damage output. Well, this was what buildup does. So does Power Buildup. It increases your damage by 80%, which is nice, and your to-hit chance by 10%. Not 15 and 100 or whatever the hell it was for the blaster, but still a pretty respectable damage increase, and again for 12.5 seconds. Who the hell wouldn't want that? But look at everything else that it does, guys. It buffs the speed of your character, fly speed, run speed, jump speed. It increases any defense power you have by 88.44%. It increases the endurance powers that you have. It increases your to-hit chance buffs that you had on you. So like if I did power buildup and then aim would be even better, is what I'm telling you. If I attack with a stun, a sleep, any kind of my mezzes, the duration is better. It lasts longer. That's what power buildup does. This is an amazing power. Temp Invulnerability is an amazing power. It's smashing lethal resistance, just like tough. Same general cost as tough, but better resistances. And again, remember, there's that 75% cap, so you don't want too much, because if you're building it for 80-90%, you're going to be wasting it. But you can, between this and tough from the fighting pool set, you would have almost enough if you slot them to get you really close to that 75%. This power is a oh shit button power called Force of Nature. Look what it does for you. It is massive buffs to resistance to everything. Smashing, lethal, fire, cold, energy, negative, toxic. The only thing that's missing from here, psionic damage. And it increases your recovery rate for 2 minutes, along with all those other resistances. So you get your blue back even better. So if you were like power pigging it up like crazy, and you're not even taking damage, you don't have to activate this. But if you wanted to get your blue back and no one else is buffing you, boom, throw that bad boy on you. Yes, you're going to have massive resistances, which who cares? You weren't even being attacked anyway. But that recovery rate is going to be huge. Notice the crash at the end. After the 2 minutes, it says after the 2 minute delay, which is literally after the power wears off, your recovery is going to tank, and your endurance is going to go all the way down for 100 points. Now remember, I have 105 endurance right now, thanks to my Atlas Medallion, Accolade. So if this is correct, if I had 105 when it crashes, then I'll go down to 5. That'll keep me from completely losing all my toggles. But I'll be burning through it pretty damn fast. So that gives me a briefest of seconds to pop a blue to get my blue bar back up a little bit. And then when this wears off after 15 seconds, I start recovering like normal again. So again, there's ways around these things. And then total focus is a single target hit. It does decent damage. The downside is, while the damage looks really spectacular, and it is, look at the damage per activation time. There's a long activation time. It's a long, drawn-out animation, and that's why it doesn't do a lot of damage per second. That's the downer of this. So people will pick it thinking it's amazing, and it is. And it also has a built-in stun, so there is reasons to take it. But if you don't care about the stun, the damage is really kind of lackluster. It's a combination of smashing and energy besides, and therefore it's going to be one of those that's heavily resisted as well as defended against. But I don't have to pick from this set. I go Psychic Mastery on this build and work on things like Mass Hypnosis, sleep a whole goddamn group of guys and just single target the shit out of like one after the other after the other. If I'm soloing, that's not a bad thing. Mind over Body, it is a kind of like Temp Invulnerability, is a resistance power for smashing and lethal. Not as good, it's not 30%. But look at what it did give me. 20% psychic damage protection. Resistance, excuse me. Same general toggle. Slightly worse on smashing lethal, but really good on psionic. Remember, I have a toggle already that gives me psionic resistance. Those do stack. And I can make a psionic resistant build, basically, was what I'm telling you. Word of Confusion is an AoE effect centered on you that will confuse targets. They will take damage and then they'll start turning around and smacking the guys. It's a power piggy, but you could totally do that. It's a very close radius, but it will keep people off you. Dominate single target hold and does a respectable damage, and it's psychic damage, so psionic, psionic damage, I keep saying psychic, psionic damage is a decent hold, lasts for a good long while, and got good range, so dominate's not horrible, but I already have holds. Remember, I'm getting rid of one. Why do I want another one? But I could technically have 4 holds on this build if I wanted to, because I have 1 from the dark side, 2 from the ice powers, and I get 1 here from dominate if I wanted to. Telekinesis, if you think the other power toggles are power pigs, you ain't seen nothing yet. Look at the Jesus Christ. This is 3.9 endurance per second. They are not kidding. However, it's a high tier ability. You're going to have endurance recovery. That's nowhere near this, but you will have something that'll help. And the reason that this is cool is it's a hold/repel. What that means is you will pick a bad guy, activate this power, and the toggle will go on. He is immediately held and then pushed away from you at maximum range. And you can pin him and all the little buddies of his around him in a corner. It doesn't cost any more endurance per guy. It's just a big power pig up front, period. So when you get a big mass of dudes, a good way for you to herd is you could activate telekinesis, push everyone into the goddamn corner. The tank runs over there, taunts them, gets them their attention, and then everyone AoEs the shit out of them. You turn telekinesis, of course, off at that point, but the point's still the same. It is useful. It's just weird, and a lot of people will misuse it and think it's crap, and it's not. You got to plan it, and you'll have to figure out if you're at an angle, like there's the wall. If I activate it, it'll activate, hit this guy for sure, and all his little buddies around him will get pulled and pushed away as well. And where will they stop? So they'll hit that wall, and then they'll slide down the wall away from you until they hit like a trash can or something that's just like an inactive piece of junk on the ground. They'll stop them. Like the tiniest little rock will be enough to like lock them in place. And then you shut telekinesis off if you have to, and just attack. If you can afford to attack while the telekinesis is on, kudos to you, but I can't do it. But again, electric mastery, again, not surprising, you're going to get an armor that's smashing, lethal, and probably electric, or energy, resistance, which is charged armor. You have a hold, mobilize, electric fences and immobilize, single target, does lame damage, it's energy damage, but it does have an immobilize, and it does sap their endurance, so that's something, I suppose. Also floors the recovery rate for a whopping 2 seconds. Ooh, bring it ding ding. Thunder Strike, AoE, if you remember that move from the Total Focus that I said was a power piggy, and it was a single target, and the damage was lackluster. Well, look at this one. It's the same animation, and the damage is just as lackluster. The reason that this one is nice, though, A, it's not way down here. B, it's an AoE move. You can hit more than one guy with this, so that's why this one is actually better. So you can actually hit more than one, and it has a chance for knockdown. Or it does knock down, knock back. Oh, wow. That's interesting. I thought it was knocked down. No, but there is a chance of stun on it. Not a stun, a chance of a stun. And it's a pretty good chance, 50% chance. Since it's AoE, you're probably going to hit more than one guy. But that knockback, I don't remember it being that big. But it's a massive recovery debuff on the target for 4 seconds. That's something. And the damage is spread between smashing and energy. Again, not great. But again, I'd rather hit AoE than single target. So if you hit 3-4 guys, that's still pretty good DPS. Charged armor is again the smashing lethal resistance that you saw, and now energy resistant. And remember that aura that I had is also, it gives me 3 different types of resistance. It gives me energy resistance, negative energy resistance, and psi resistance. So I can make 3 separate builds if I wanted to with this character, and have one be good for energy, one be good for negative, one be good for psi, which would probably be the way I go. Or smashing lethal only, the true invulnerability one. But that would be the way I would go. Those would be the important ones to me, because when you know what you're fighting, say, hey, these bad guys are all doing psychic damage. Oh, I got a guy for that. Hold on a second. Let me just switch builds. Poof, press a button. Pow. Now I'm Psychic Master Man and protected like I should be. Shocking Bolt's going to be a single target hold. Again, sapping ability, another hold. I don't particularly care about it. Damage is lame. But it's another hold, and I could stack those holds up. That's kind of nice. Power Sync is the one that you really want. It's a power piggy that you may be. You run into a field of bad guys, activate this, it will sap their endurance, literally drain the target of endurance, 41.25 endurance per target that you hit gets drained. Each target gets drained this much, and you can modify that to make it higher. So you become a sapper, so to speak. You mess up their recovery for endurance for a decent amount of time, 4 seconds, and then for every target you hit, you get 25 endurance back. So it really only takes you 4 targets to hit, and you're at full. And that's if you haven't slotted this for endurance modification. So again, this is what epic power pools are for. And these aren't only the ones you can get, by the way. These are the only ones I can get right now. If I went to the villain side, villains have 4 different villain masters, so to speak. You do a mission for them, and you get the villain epic power pool sets. All 4 of them become available, and they're very different, extremely similar. There's going to be a Moo Mastery, and that's basically electric. There'll be a Soul Mastery that's kind of like dark, but not quite. You'll see similar powers, but not all the same. They'll have a Mace Mastery, and that's the one that does like tech, and you'll like summon pets, and they'll be like spider robots and shit. Pretty baller. And instead of giving like temp invulnerability where you get smashing lethal resistance, they usually have a Scorpion Shield, which is a force field bubble that's single target on you. It's a toggle, and instead of giving you resistance, it gives you defense to smashing lethal and energy, if I remember correctly. So you can, instead of having a high resistance, being able to take that beating, I can just jack up my defenses through the roof so that they're missing more often than not. That sounds good to me too. And then there's, say, Mace Mastery, Moon Mastery, Leviathan Mastery is the 4th one. Leviathan Mastery is a little weird. It's a evil shark human asshole that you basically team with or do missions for, and he gives you like water kind of powers, sort of. It's kind of hard to explain, but he's kind of like true invulnerability, because he gives you smashing lethal and cold resistance, because you get like shark skin as a power pick, and you can like summon like ghost sharks to eat people. It's very weird. It's hard to explain. He's usually pretty good at AoE though. But again, those 4 are always on the villain side, and different powers, again, depending what type of character you are. Blaster, there's going to get different powers from Mace Mastery than a tank that has Mace Mastery. But the point's still the same, that you can get those 2 and they're completely different. Mids can show you that, and again, it's extremely cool then to make those decisions on what you're going to do. I'm going to go back here though, because again, I knew I wanted to get... Oh, nothing. Yeah, I'm not picking that. Oh, Weave. If I were to smart, I'd get Weave, because it's more defense. Yeah, let's do that. Train next level. Weave definitely needs to get 3 slots as soon as possible. From here, let's get Ice Bolt up a little more. Keep going. Okay, I'm done with these for all intents and purposes as far as I'm concerned, slotting. So now it's stuff over here. Dark Servant can always use 1 more. Tar Patch is always good at 2. Same with Darkest Night. Maybe 3 because it's a power pig, but I don't use it all that often. Fearsome Stare could get some more love. Shadow Falls a toggle. Let's put 1 in there because it's, again, defense and resistance. And it's a toggle for power over time, or endurance over time. It's going to cost me. But let's get the Ice Blast up a little more. And is that it? Am I done? Oh, I got more. Holy shit. Blizzard. Yeah, nuke. Gotta get the nuke ability. That thing is retarded amount of damage. And I don't care who you are, you should always slot your nuke up at least 4. And I'm actually going to take it a little bit more. Let's get Shadowfall up to 4. Next level. Okay. Now, Bitter Freeze Ray. Yeah. Missed out on that earlier. Let's get it up a little bit, because that's another hold, and it does good damage. Hover over here, scale it to 50. Remember, these are unslotted. Yes, their slots are there, there's just nothing in them for damage buff, so these numbers are raw. Look at the damage per time on the activation on this one. 39.91 is because it's a big activation time, 2.5 seconds, and you strike in a pose before you attack. But compare it to Ice Bolt, 36, 35. Ice Bolt's actually better than Ice Blast for damage over time. How weird is that? And then Bitter Freeze Ray is actually better than either of those, just barely. But then again, it kind of tells you which one you should put your focuses in for who gets the extra slots. You know what I mean? Definitely want him up and him up. Holy shit, I got more. Okay, time for epics. And I'm going to pick... See, I already picked Dark Mastery last time. Flame Mastery would give me the Fire Shield. That's just smashing lethal, fire, and cold. and I have no real resistance to those now, so those can be minor. Self-res though, Rise of the Phoenix, that's one of the reasons you like this one. It's a self-res. You die, you click this button, poof, you res up with a decent amount of health and endurance, like half and half I want to say, and does a decent amount of damage to all the bad guys around them. Notice it says 3 ticks of this much damage. So literally 333, and this is unaugmented. We can augment that for damage. So you can explode in a fiery blaze. Now you die, of course, to do it, but chances are you probably can do that anyway. And you're immobilized for the briefest of seconds while that's going on. But they explode and they knock back away from you, so it's less likely they'll be on your face. It stuns them more likely than not, so again, gives you a chance to get your toggles back on. Decent, but I'm not going to go with that one. I did say I like that power build-up. There we go. And power build-up now. Definitely want at least one in there. And I know it's silly, but I do like my attack powers to have 6 if I can always help it. So that's everything. So select or rename your active build. So we're going to do this, and we're going to rename this build Smashing Lethal Resistor, because that's really what I'm building for. Now you'll notice I have no slots, things slotted. It is bare naked in the breeze. I mean, I'm not kidding you a minute. And if you have powers that didn't come down into the tray here for whatever reason, all you do is click it, left click it, and again you see I have now duplicates. So you want to get rid of them, right click it, remove from tray, right click it, remove from tray, right click it, remove from tray. So that's, and then up to you then to slot them where you want them. You know, a common thing for me, and this will be the last thing I say to you, I swear to God, the common thing for me is this, is I will take the best attacks, single target attacks, and I'll have them in order from the best to the worst. I'll have toggles up here and other stuff like that, but by and large, like I'll say, whichever, and again you can just go here again, scroll it up, find out what the best damage per activation time is, and put it on the left. So this one's at 77, this one's at 35, so it's lame. This one's even better than that though, right? Yeah, it's gonna be 36, so this one's better than this, so this will be in order then of best to worst. And let's what freeze ray does. So this is where freeze ray used to suck. Freeze ray used to be 4. So you see how they've changed things, and mids will say 4, so this is why I say read it in the game. Don't trust mids for everything. So this one's actually pretty good at 79. What was this one again? Is that 79 as well? No, 77. So technically freeze ray is the best power I have out of these 4. Bitter freeze ray is another one. What does it do? This one's got a big activation time, so 39.91. So this is the one that's slightly better than these two, right? Yes, just barely. So you go like yay, yay, and this aim over here, and because you want to be able to pop that on. We have build up, power build up no less. I'll have my AoE moves probably like right here next to them, so I don't forget. I like to have my toggles over here, single target heal over here, because it's going to be something that I spam. I can probably slot these other toggles up here. The pet, AoE move again, and I'll use it more than I use this one, because this one has a massive cooldown. Tar patch gets used a lot, so this one actually supersedes even aim in my opinion. Put another toggle up there, rest in the corner. I am missing flying disc. I didn't even know that was a thing. Range certified. Oh, they gave us a frisbee. That's awesome. So I can do flying disc like oops, like this. Catch. That's awesome. That's so cute. Anyway, I got these prestige attacks, so I could slot these. These rapidly lose in usefulness over time because you can't slot them. Apprentice Charm, because I'm wizardress, whatever. I can literally hit you with this charm. It does minor damage. I can't stress enough how minor the damage is. But it does have a resistance to all damage is lowered for 8 seconds. That's not horrible, and it does energy damage, so if you needed to set something on fire, usually energy damage attacks will do that. So that's not horrible, but I can remove it from the tray at this point. I am missing sprint. I'm just going to click and drag it down there. And I'm missing, where's my ninja run? There it is. Oh, and my jump pack, there we go. So I usually go like, say, like this. I have toggles, more toggles to run, and put them in order of what I think is more important. So here's super jump. Notice that it shuts off combat jumping. Again, this is unslotted, so it's costing the full endurance to run it. This is as good as I can jump without slotting it for jump. Okay. Then I have acrobatics, and the only reason I did that build was really to show you that acrobatics is useful. It's a common thing that I put in my builds because most people like to fly, but acrobatics is a reason then to go super jump, in my opinion. You get super jump and one other power, and then you can pick acrobatics. And acrobatics gives you protection from knockback, knock up, and a tiny, and I can't stress enough, a tiny bit of protection from hold. It does not scale. The resistance to hold means hold spells or powers will wear off you faster. That's nice. But you will be able to resist a hold with this on. Now remember, that other clickable power I had from the sorcery pool was a much better buff, and it lasted a long time. It wasn't a toggle, but it was a 1.5 minute buff, and you can use that power while mezzed like you use a break free. So I could just leave it in my thing and forget it. I do all the time, and then I say, oh, I really needed that. Oh, here it is, click. So that's the thing. But I have okay defenses, and that's thanks to weave and combat jumping. I can have, where's my, I'm missing a, did I not pick it? No, there it is. I just did not drag it like a dumbass. Let's actually move that down here like that, and we'll switch you out. This is my cloak, my energy, negative energy, psychic damage, resistance, and defense buff. So my defenses are better than the last build, and again, I haven't slotted a goddamn thing. And I still have all my general attacks, and the one power that I have that's unique now is this power build-up, which is definitely helpful, and of course acrobatics and super jump, but basically as far as attack, helpful attack stuff. I want you to see something though before we log off here, and it could be on any power, but I'm going to demonstrate it because I already have defenses. It doesn't work on resistances, which is kind of cool, but power build-up does work on defenses, including the toggles we have running. It doesn't last for long, so for 12.5 seconds I'll have a buff to a variety of effects, including defense. So look at my defense now at 12.5, right? Hit power build-up and watch what happens. See it? 19.63. Notice my damage bonus, of course, too, but basically all my defenses are buffed, and a whole crap ton of other shit is buffed when this is on. So like literally I'm buffing my hold powers will last longer, my fear power will last longer, my stun power will last longer. You get the idea. Now, I don't think I can buff myself and then use Dark Servant, because he has his own mezzes and stuff, because it's not buffing him, it's buffing me. So don't think that. It has no effect on slow, I don't think. Let's prove that to ourselves. It's a bonus to run speed and for stuff for ourselves, so I move faster under its effect. But it doesn't say anything about slow powers being affected. So the only reason I mention that is because Tar Patch is a slow power. It literally slows the target down. It's like Quagmire that they're like mucking through, right? So that won't buff that, and that's okay. But I can buff, like I said, my fear. I can buff my stun. I can buff this hold. I can buff that hold. I can buff aim. So I have a lot of different things that I can buff with power buildup too. And not only that, but power buildup again gives me more to hit and more damage. Why wouldn't you want that power? Anytime power buildup is available, I'd like to get it at least on one of the builds. There is another one in the game that's kind of like power buildup, not buildup. That's great power too. There's another one that's like power buildup in that it increases, like you just saw, my defense, my heals, my stun duration, my fear duration, and all that shit. But it doesn't say power buildup. because it doesn't do the to hit bonus and the damage bonus. So be careful. If you see that one, it's almost a trap power. It's one where, yes, it's buffing your defense and all this other shit for that brief period of time, but you will not do extra damage, and you will not do extra to hit bonus from just activating that power like power buildup does. So that's a thing. And I know this video has been exceedingly long, guys. I do apologize, but I am super jazzed to have my game back. Here's a placard for you. And I hope you guys get into it too, because it really is fun. If you want to team up with me at any time, feel free to hit me up in the game. Chances are I'll be recording those, so don't feel bad if I'm not too chatty in the chat here, because I'll probably be talking while recording to give information and stuff about certain things that I'm doing. But Cold Dark Knight is my character here, and I believe not the Excelsior one, I'm at the Everlasting, I think is the name of the server that I am on, and most of my characters are on Everlasting. If you hit me up and you see me as Brother Mutant is my handle, and it's one of my main characters as well, it's a scrapper. Feel free to hit me up though, guys, and I'll be happy to team with most people. All right, but with that, my name is Brother Mutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, and say hey to everybody in Paragon City for me. Bye now.